You wake up in complete darkness, locked inside a stone chamber beneath the largest arena the ancient world ever built. Above your head, tens of thousands of Romans have just cheered as your husband was torn apart in the sand by a wild beast. The games are over now. The crowd is dispersing. Footsteps echo through empty corridors. The noise fades, except one sound. Slow, heavy, approaching. A silhouette stops at your cell door. A man stands there, the gladiator who survived the slaughter. His armor is still stained. A guard reaches for the key. Metal scrapes stone. The lock opens. The man points at you. This isn't fiction. This wasn't rare. This was routine in ancient Rome. What I'm about to reveal is the part of Roman history most textbooks quietly skip. The organized, state-approved nightmare that began when the audience went home. This isn't rumor or guesswork. Roman authors wrote about it openly, and the physical evidence is still etched into the underground chambers beneath the Colosseum itself. Stay with me until the end, because after this, the Roman Empire will never look the same. Popular culture has spent decades polishing the image of gladiators. Films show bravery, rebellion, honor, and spectacle, but they leave out what happened after the torches dimmed, when entertainment turned into something far more disturbing. Modern historians use a phrase to describe it: carnal victory. To the Romans, it didn't even need a name. It was ordinary. Ancient writers like Martial, Juvenal, and Seneca describe a society where captured women were stored beneath arenas and distributed as rewards, not symbolically, but physically, to fighters who performed well. This wasn't underground crime. It was managed by the Roman state itself with the same efficiency used to organize roads, taxes, and aqueducts. Consider that for a moment. The civilization celebrated as the foundation of Western law also perfected the bureaucratic management of human suffering. Before we go further, take a second. If you believe uncomfortable history deserves to be told, support this investigation, because this story isn't only about Rome, it's about what power does when no one is watching. To understand what happened below the arena, you first need to understand how Rome converted people into assets. This wasn't chaos, it was process. When Roman legions destroyed a city in Gaul, Judea, or Britannia, the population was sorted. Fighting men were executed or sent to mines, children were sold across the empire, women were cataloged as war captives, legally stripped of personhood. Under Roman law, they were no longer human beings. They were classified as property, objects, and objects have no rights. But Rome didn't rely on law alone. It relied on spectacle. The games were political theater, designed to terrify enemies and condition Roman citizens. Executions weren't hidden. They were performed publicly to demonstrate total dominance. During midday intervals, when elites left to dine, condemned prisoners were forced to reenact myths, except the deaths were real. Martial casually describes victims dressed as legendary figures, only to be killed by animals before cheering crowds. He writes about these scenes with approval, praising how effectively fantasy became reality. This cruelty wasn't exceptional, it was advertised. Parents brought children, vendors sold food, and no one questioned it. This same machinery processed conquered women into rewards. Gladiators themselves existed in contradiction, legally enslaved, socially worshipped. Their names appeared in graffiti, their faces in mosaics. Elite women obsessed over them. Some bribed guards for private encounters. Even gladiator sweat was collected and sold as a cosmetic product. Yet Rome feared them. The Spartacus rebellion haunted Roman memory. Dozens of gladiators escaped, raised an army, and nearly shattered the Republic. When Rome regained control, Thousands were crucified along the roads as a warning. So Rome balanced terror with incentive: better food, money, freedom after victories, and, according to scattered but consistent references, access to captives. After major games, surviving fighters were escorted into the underground network beneath the arena. Still armed, still bloodied, officials guided them through torchlit tunnels until they reached sealed chambers. Archaeology reveals these rooms across the empire: small, reinforced, stone benches, iron rings fixed into walls, doors locking from the outside. Some still bear scratches, marks left by people who understood exactly what awaited them. These women had already been recorded in state ledgers, assigned numbers, categorized by origin. They were moved like equipment. Some sources imply selection, others suggest assignment. Either way, a guard unlocked a door and then locked it again. The sources fall silent on details, but the architecture speaks clearly. This system wasn't hidden or illegal. It was budgeted, administrated, maintained. It rewarded fighters without granting them power and reminded captives that Rome owned everything, bodies included. Archaeologists originally focused on lifts and cages beneath the Colosseum, but deeper excavation revealed isolated chambers serving no logistical purpose, except one. Cassius Dio later mentioned spaces beneath arenas reserved for those awaiting use. He didn't explain further. He didn't need to. Graffiti discovered in Capua tells us more. Names scratched into stone, prayers written in broken Latin. One reads, "I had children, now I am nothing." Another begs for death before dawn. These voices weren't preserved in official histories, but stone remembers. Some scholars argue caution, that interpretations risk modern bias. But when architecture, law, military practice, and written accounts all point in the same direction, denial becomes uncomfortable. These women weren't anonymous victims. They came from burned villages, from massacres, from forced marches in chains. They had already lost families, identities, futures. Beneath the arena, they waited, listening to cheers above, knowing no rescue was coming. This wasn't accidental cruelty, it was strategy. Roman writers admitted openly. After crushing revolts, captives were deliberately distributed to demonstrate total defeat. The message was unmistakable: resistance ends here. Occasionally, the system became too visible. Rare female fighters appeared in the arena itself, scandalizing elites. Not because violence troubled Rome, but because visibility did. When Emperor Septimius Severus banned women from fighting, the abuse didn't stop. It simply returned to the shadows. The games continued for centuries, even after Rome adopted Christianity. They ended not through moral awakening, but because the empire collapsed. The machinery broke down, the supply of captives ended. Today, tourists admire the Colosseum's grandeur. They hear about combat and engineering. Few are told what happened underneath. The rings are still there, the chambers remain, the records exist in archives. This wasn't rumor, this wasn't chaos, this was policy. The arena wasn't just built on blood spilled in public, but on suffering hidden below. That is the half of Roman history we rarely confront. And that's the story they don't teach in classrooms. If this changed how you see ancient Rome, stay with us. We'll keep uncovering the history power tried to bury.